The screens died first, not with a flicker, just black. Sarah Vance's tablet, her GPS watch, the drone controller clipped to her vest, all dead in the same instant. She slapped the tablet twice, muscle memory from a world where reboots fixed everything. Then the IED erupted. The lead Humvee folded like a crushed beer can, flipping end over end into the ravine. Gunfire ripped through the canopy. Sarah scrambled for her radio, jabbing the transmit button. Nothing. A hand grabbed her collar, yanking her backward into the undergrowth. Dutch, 62 years old, moving like a pissed-off linebacker. He ripped the radio from her hands and threw it into the mud. "Battery's dead, girl." His voice was gravel and diesel smoke. "Time to play it old school." The briefing room at Forward Operating Base Serpiente smelled like burnt coffee and testosterone. Sarah Vance sat ramrod straight in her chair, tablet balanced on her knee, stylus poised like a scalpel. Around the table, 6 contractors, 3 agency liaisons, and one man who looked like he'd crawled out of a history textbook. Dutch wore cargo pants held up with paracord and a faded Rhodesian brushstroke shirt that probably predated Sarah's birth. His face was a roadmap of scars and sun damage, crowned by steel gray hair buzzed to the scalp. He didn't have a tablet. He had a folded paper map and a ballpoint pen missing its cap. "Our asset confirms the cache location," Sarah said, tapping her screen. The projected map lit up the wall, satellite imagery overlaid with SIGINT data and predictive movement patterns. HUMINT places the target 12 clicks northwest of here. Thick canopy, no landing zones within 3 clicks of the objective. "What kind of cache?" Dutch's voice scraped out like he gargled nails for breakfast. "Small arms, RPGs, possibly Stinger missiles left over from the 90s. Sarah zoomed in with 2 fingers. "The cartel's been consolidating. We think they're planning something big in Medellin." Dutch snorted. It sounded like a bull clearing its nostrils. "Something to add?" Major Reeves, the ops officer, had the tone of a man tired of babysitting. "Yeah." Dutch leaned back, chair creaking. "Your girl's looking at a computer. I'm looking at terrain." He jabbed a thick finger at the wall map. "That area? Rio Verde Basin. Tried to navigate that shit in '89. GPS doesn't work for shit under triple canopy. Magnetic anomalies fuck with compasses. You go in there, you better know how to read moss and sun angles." Sarah's jaw tightened. "We have 3 drones for overwatch and real-time satellite uplink. I think we'll manage." "Sure, Captain." Dutch's smile had no warmth. "Until the batteries die." The contractors chuckled. Sarah felt her cheeks burn. Major Reeves cut in. "Dutch, you're on this op as a terrain consultant. Captain Vance is running tactical. We clear?" "Crystal." Dutch folded his map with the precision of a man who'd done it 10,000 times. Sarah stood, snapping her tablet cover shut. As she passed Dutch's chair, she kept her voice low. "Try to keep up, old man." His laugh followed her out the door. "I was humping 80-pound ruck through mountains before you were born, keyboard warrior." The armory at Serpiente was organized chaos. Sarah moved through her loadout with the efficiency of a surgeon prepping for surgery. M4A1 carbine with ACOG scope and suppressor. Check. 430-round magazines, green-tip ammunition. Check. Glock 19 sidearm with 3 spare mags. Check. Tactical tablet in waterproof case. Check. Personal drone with thermal imaging. Check. Garmin GPS watch synced to satellite network. Check. PRC-163 radio with encryption module. Check. She could run the entire operation from her wrist if she had to. Every piece of gear represented thousands of hours of R&D, billions in defense contracts. She was a node in a network that spanned continents. Across the armory, Dutch packed his gear into a weather-beaten ALICE ruck that looked like it had survived multiple wars, which it probably had. AK-47, not even American-made, just some battlefield pickup with Cyrillic markings worn smooth. He loaded it with a mix of magazines that didn't match. K-bar knife, the leather sheath cracked and oil-stained. A compass, the liquid kind, not digital. A paper map sealed in a Ziploc bag. Paracord, duct tape, water purification tablets. No radio, no GPS, no tablet. Sarah walked over, unable to help herself. "You know we're not invading Laos in 1968, right?" Dutch didn't look up. He was wrapping the AK's stock with medical tape to cover a crack. "This rifle's killed more men than you've met in your life. It'll work when that fancy toy of yours is a paperweight." That fancy toy has target acquisition, ballistic calculators, and links to satellites that can be jammed, batteries that die, circuits that fry when it gets wet. He finally looked at her. His eyes were the color of worn denim. "You ever fire a weapon without a computer telling you where to aim?" Sarah's fingers curled into a fist. "I qualified expert marksman at Quantico. On a range, with spotters and wind meters." Dutch slung the AK over his shoulder. "I'm just saying, Captain. Hope you remember how to do math when your calculator breaks." He walked out. Sarah stood there gripping her tablet, telling herself she was the professional. She had a graduate degree, combat training at the farm. She'd run ops in Yemen and Syria. And yet something about the way Dutch moved, that loose, easy confidence, made her feel like a kid with a learner's permit arguing with a NASCAR driver. Dawn came wet and gray. The convoy rolled out at 0600, 3 Humvees, 12 operators, 1 objective. Sarah rode in the second vehicle, tablet open on her lap, monitoring the drone feed. The nano UAV circled overhead like a mechanical hawk, streaming thermal imagery directly to her screen. "Overwatch shows clear for 2 clicks, she reported over the net. "No heat signatures, no movement." Dutch rode in the third Humvee. His voice crackled through the radio, thick with static. "Roads this empty make me nervous." "That's why we have eyes in the sky," Sarah shot back. The jungle pressed in from both sides. A wall of green so dense it swallowed light. The road was barely a road, more like a scar through the vegetation. Ruts deep enough to swallow a tire. Every pothole was a potential IED. Sarah's tablet showed the route in crisp detail. Waypoints, elevation changes, choke points highlighted in red. The algorithm predicted a 73% probability of contact within the target area. Acceptable risk. She glanced at the truck ahead. Sergeant Miller drove with his hands loose on the wheel, eyes scanning. Good operator. Solid. The jungle blurred past. Humidity turned the inside of the Humvee into a sauna. Sarah's uniform clung to her back. Her GPS watch vibrated. "Waypoint approaching. All units crossing phase line Delta in 30 seconds, she announced. That's when her tablet screen went black. For a heartbeat, Sarah thought it was a glitch. She tapped the screen, held the power button. Nothing. Her GPS watch, dead. The drone controller on her vest, dark. Even the digital readout on her rifle optic flickered and died. "Command, this is Vance. I've lost all electronics. Repeat, total system failure." Static. She grabbed the radio handset, keyed the mic. "Any station, this is Viper 2. How copy?" Dead air. In the driver's seat, Corporal Hayes looked at his GPS unit. "Ma'am, my nav system just crashed." Up ahead, the lead Humvee slowed, brake lights flaring. The convoy accordioned to a stop. Sarah's mind raced. EMP? No, they'd see secondary effects. Vehicles stalling, watches stopping. Jamming? Possible, but military-grade encryption should punch through commercial jammers. She keyed her radio again. "Dutch, you copy?" Nothing. Then from the third vehicle behind them, a voice, analog, carried on air. "I copy. 100 meters, 3 o'clock." Sarah leaned out the window. Dutch stood in the bed of his Humvee, one hand cupped around his mouth, the other pointing into the jungle. Ambush positions, multiple shooters. Sarah squinted, saw nothing but green. How the hell? The world exploded. The IED detonated under the lead Humvee with a sound like God slamming a door. The vehicle lifted, actually lifted, flipping sideways in a spray of dirt and shrapnel. It tumbled into the ravine, metal screaming against rock. Gunfire erupted from three sides. Contact left. Hayes yanked the wheel right, trying to get off the X. Sarah's training took over. She was out the door, rifle up, scanning for targets. Muzzle flashes in the tree line, maybe 40 meters out. She fired 3-round bursts, methodical, controlled. But her ACOG was dark. No reticle, no ranging, just a tube with glass. Fall back to vehicle 3. That was Miller's voice, hoarse and urgent. Sarah sprinted. Rounds snapped past her head, supersonic cracks that made her flinch. She dove behind the second Humvee just as its windshield exploded. Hayes was hit, slumped over the wheel, blood soaking his collar. Behind her, the third Humvee's Ma Deuce opened up, Dutch's truck. The .50 caliber hammered out a rhythm, long bursts that chewed through jungle foliage, suppressive fire that bought them seconds. Vance, move your ass! Dutch's bellow cut through the chaos. She low-crawled under the second Humvee, came up on the other side, ran. Another explosion, RPG, slamming into the road between vehicles 2 and 3. The blast wave knocked her flat, ears ringing, vision swimming. Hands grabbed her, dragged her behind the third Humvee. Dutch, face streaked with dirt, eyes hard as flint. Can you move? Yeah, then we're leaving. He shoved an AK pattern rifle into her hands. Not his, someone else's. Your toy gun's dead. This works. Sarah looked back. The second Humvee was burning now, black smoke spiraling into the canopy. Miller's buying us time. Dutch pulled her to her feet. We stay, we die. We move, maybe we don't. Choose. The .50 cal went silent. Sarah chose. They ran, not in formation, not with spacing and sectors of fire, just raw flight, crashing through undergrowth, branches tearing at exposed skin. Dutch moved like he'd been born in jungle terrain, fluid, economical, reading the ground ahead like a text. Sarah stumbled after him, lungs burning, the unfamiliar AK banging against her ribs. Behind them, shouting in Spanish, more gunfire, something heavy moving through the brush. How many? Sarah gasped. More than us. Dutch dropped behind a fallen log, breathing hard but controlled. He pointed. They're hurting us. 3 groups. They want us moving east. How do you know? Because if I wanted to ambush someone on this terrain, that's where I'd do it. He pulled out his compass, squinted at the sun through the canopy. We go north, uphill. Harder terrain, but it'll slow them down too. Sarah wanted to check her GPS. Her hand went to her wrist automatically. Dead watch, dead tech, dead certainty. Captain, Dutch's voice was gentler now. You with me? She nodded. Lead on. They climbed. The jungle fought them. Thorns, vines, sucking mud that swallowed boots. Insects swarmed. Something bit Sarah's neck, left it burning. Sweat poured into her eyes. Her tablet was a useless brick in her pack. Her drone was a paperweight. Every advantage she'd counted on, gone. Dutch navigated by sun angle and slope. No instruments, just experience and instinct. After an hour, maybe 2, time was slippery without a watch. They stopped in a rocky outcrop. Sarah collapsed, chest heaving. Drink. Dutch handed her his canteen. Actual metal with a canvas cover. Small sips. The water tasted like iron and chemicals. She didn't care. We need to find a radio, she said. Get extraction. Radios need batteries. Batteries die. Dutch was scanning their back trail. First priority, don't get killed. Second, figure out who the hell jammed us. You think it was deliberate? Coordinated EMP or jammer, timed with an IED ambush? Dutch hawked and spat. Yeah, someone wanted us dark before they hit us. Sarah's mind spun through scenarios. Cartel? They didn't have that level of sophistication. Rogue military? Foreign power? A branch snapped downslope. Dutch's hands shot up, fist closed. Stop. They froze. Voices. 2, maybe 3 men, speaking Spanish, getting closer. Sarah clicked the AK's safety off. The sound was loud as a gunshot in her ears. Dutch mouthed, "Wait." The voices drew even with their position, 40 meters downslope. Sarah could see movement now. 3 men in mismatched fatigues carrying AKs. Not cartel fighters. Too disciplined, too tactical. One wore a balaclava, comm gear on his vest, the expensive kind probably hardened against jamming. They were hunting. Dutch's breathing slowed. He was utterly still, a statue carved from granite in scar tissue. The hunters moved past. Sarah waited, counted to 60. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Dutch touched her shoulder, pointed up. They climbed higher, moving like ghosts now, every footstep deliberate. They found the informant just before dusk. His name had been Carlos. Sarah knew because she'd read his file. Local asset, reliable intel for 3 years. He'd given them the location of the cache. Now he was tied to a tree, head lolling forward. Dead maybe 12 hours. Dutch examined the body with clinical detachment, lifted the head by the hair. "Jesus," Sarah whispered. "Pliers." Dutch pointed to the man's mouth. They pulled his teeth. Not for intel. He would have talked after the first 2. This was a message. To who? To anyone working with America. Your asset died 12 hours ago. We didn't arrive in country until yesterday. Sarah's mouth went dry. Someone knew we were coming. Someone knew Carlos was feeding us intel, knew the route we'd take, knew when to hit us. Dutch's expression was carved from stone. "We got sold out, Captain. Question is, by who?" The jungle darkened around them. Shadows bled together into solid blackness. No light pollution here, no cities, just the ancient dark that humans had feared since the first campfire. Sarah tried her tablet one more time. Pointless gesture, still dead. "We need to keep moving," Dutch said. "They'll have thermals, night vision." "So do we." Sarah tapped her NOD mount, or we did. "Then we move old school." Dutch pulled out a small LED pen light, the kind you'd buy at a gas station. "Red lens, preserves night vision, and we don't use it unless we have to." They walked into darkness. 3 hours into the night march, Sarah walked into a tree. The impact sent her sprawling. Pain exploded across her forehead. Dutch was beside her instantly. "You heard?" "Just my pride." She sat up, tasting copper. Her nose was bleeding. "Let me see." Dutch clicked on his penlight, just a flash, red glow. "Not broken. You'll have a shiner, though." Sarah wiped blood on her sleeve. "I can't see anything." "Your night vision's shot. Takes 20 minutes to adapt after looking at a screen. Your eyes have been glued to electronics for years. They forgot how to work without them." "So what, we just stand here?" "We move slow. Feel the ground with your feet before you commit weight. Listen more than you look." Dutch clicked the light off. "Close your eyes for 10 seconds. Sounds backwards, but trust me." Sarah closed her eyes. The jungle came alive. Insects, thousands of them, a pulsing chorus. Something moving through the canopy above. Water trickling over stone, distant but distinct. Wind rustling leaves with a sound like whispered conversations. "Now open them." She did. The darkness was still there, but different, less solid. Shapes resolved into trees, rocks, gaps. "Human eyes work in almost no light," Dutch said, "but you gotta let them. Stop expecting a screen to tell you what's there." They moved on, slower now but steadier. Sarah's foot found a root before she tripped. Branches she couldn't see became textures she could feel before they hit her face. Better, Dutch grunted. You're learning. Learning what? How to be blind? How to operate when the machine stopped working. He paused. That tablet of yours, what happens when it breaks? I have backups. All on batteries, all dependent on satellites, all vulnerable. Dutch's voice was patient, almost gentle. I'm not saying tech is bad, Captain. I'm saying you can't let it be your only tool. Sarah wanted to argue, but her bleeding nose and the ache in her skull made the point better than words. They walked until Sarah's legs trembled with exhaustion. Dutch found a spot beneath an overhang, rock on three sides, defensible. We stop here, he said. 4 hours, you take first watch. I can't see anything to watch. Then listen. Dutch lay down, using his ruck as a pillow. 30 seconds later, his breathing deepened into sleep. Sarah sat with her back to stone, the unfamiliar AK across her lap. The darkness pressed against her eyeballs. She listened. The sun rose in layers, first a graying of black to charcoal, then definition creeping back into the world. Sarah had never been so grateful to see light. Dutch woke with a start, hand going to his knife before his eyes were fully open. Old instincts. Anything? He asked. Something walked past around 0300, big, 4 legs. Jaguar, probably. They leave people alone, usually. He stood, joints cracking. We need water. They found a stream a half-click north. Sarah wanted to drink immediately. Dutch stopped her. See that? He pointed to scum on the surface. Dead fish upstream. Something contaminated it. We have purification tablets. In your bag? Sarah checked. The tablet bottle had cracked open. Half the contents scattered through her pack's interior. Shit. Boil it or filter it. Dutch produced a compact water filter from his cargo pocket. Sawyer Mini. Weighs 2 ounces. Filters 100,000 gallons. Cost me $20. He filled his canteen, screwed the filter on, and drank. Handed it to Sarah. The water was cool and tasted like plastic. She'd never enjoyed anything more. We're about 8 clicks from the objective cache, Dutch said, studying his paper map, assuming they haven't moved it. Our mission's over. We need extraction. No radio, no way to call for help. Dutch folded the map. Best bet is to reach the cache. If it's a cartel operation, they'll have comms gear we can use. You want to assault an arms cache with 2 people? I want to survive. Sometimes that means taking ground. Dutch's smile was grim. Besides, you're CIA. I'm a contractor. We're supposed to be expendable. Sarah checked her rifle, the borrowed AK. 30 rounds in the mag, 2 spare mags on her belt. Maybe 100 rounds total. This is insane. Welcome to old-school warfare, Captain. Dutch started walking, where you can't just call in a drone strike and go home. They found the trail mid-morning, fresh boot prints in mud, at least a dozen men. Moving east, Dutch knelt, examining the impressions. Military boots, mixed sizes, some wearing tennis shoes underneath. You can see the tread pattern. Meaning? Meaning they're equipped but not uniform. Contractors, maybe. Or cartel sicarios with good gear. He stood, moving toward the cache location. Sarah's tactical mind spun. If they're securing the site, then they knew we were coming for it. Dutch's jaw was tight. Which means our informant talked before they killed him. Or the leak came from our side. The possibility hung between them like a physical weight. Someone at FOB Serpiente sold us out, Sarah said slowly. Someone knew our route, our timing, our objective. And they brought a jammer specifically to kill your electronics. Dutch spat. They wanted you blind, Captain. Question is, why? Sarah thought about her tablet, the encrypted files, satellite access codes. If someone wanted to compromise agency operations. They want my gear, she said. The code's inside it. Probably. Dutch checked his AK, which means they'll be looking for your body. And when they don't find it, they'll keep hunting. Yep, Dutch grinned, and there was something feral in it. So let's go ruin their day. They followed the trail. The trail led them uphill into terrain that looked like God had taken a cheese grater to the earth. Limestone karst formations jutted through the canopy, sharp, jagged, impossible to navigate without bleeding. The boot prints wove between outcrops, following a path only someone with intimate knowledge would know. Dutch moved like a hunting cat. Sarah tried to mirror his rhythm, low, deliberate, weight on the balls of her feet. Her nose still ached. The bruise on her forehead had ripened into something purple and tender. They'd been moving for 3 hours when Dutch froze. Sarah stopped, listened. Nothing. Dutch pointed, a scuff mark on stone. Fresh. Someone had slipped, caught themselves. No more than 30 minutes old. He gestured, 2 fingers to his eyes, then forward. I'll look. You cover. Dutch ghosted ahead, disappearing into the undergrowth like smoke. Sarah knelt behind a termite mound, AK trained on the path. Her finger rested outside the trigger guard, muscle memory from 1,000 repetitions at Quantico. Seconds crawled past. A bird shrieked, something crashing through brush. Away from them, spooked. Then Dutch was back, moving fast. He grabbed Sarah's collar and pulled her into a narrow cleft between 2 boulders. Squeezed them both into shadow. Talk, Sarah whispered. Observation post, 70 meters ahead. 2 men, thermals and night vision. They're scanning our back trail. Did they see you? Not yet. Dutch's breath was surprisingly steady. But they will if we keep moving on this path. Sarah's mind raced through options. Flank them? 2 against 2 may be doable. Bypass? Risk leaving hostiles behind them. Wait them out? They didn't have time. We take them, she decided. Dutch raised an eyebrow. Both of us? You taught me to listen. Let's put it to use. Sarah checked her AK. What's the approach? Steep, rocky, one way in. Dutch pulled his K-bar from its sheath. The blade was dark with oil, the edge honed to a whisper. Firearms are loud. Loud brings friends. You want to knife fight 2 men with thermals? I want to wait until they're not looking at their screens. Dutch's smile was grim. Thermals are great until you rely on them. Then they're just another blind spot. They circled wide, moving with glacial patience. Every step deliberate, every breath controlled. The OP was positioned perfectly, a natural bowl in the rock with sightlines down 3 approaches. The 2 men wore mismatched fatigues, expensive kit. One scanned with a thermal monocular. The other had a tablet, military grade, ruggedized. Sarah's chest tightened. That tablet was working, which meant they had hardened electronics, probably shielded, definitely expensive. These weren't cartel sicarios. These were professionals. Dutch pointed to himself, then the man with the thermal, pointed to Sarah, then the man with the tablet. She nodded. They waited. 10 minutes. 15. Sarah's knees screamed. Sweat ran into her eyes. Then the man with the thermal lowered his monocular, rubbed his eyes. Screen fatigue. Even professionals got it. Dutch moved. He closed the distance in 4 strides, fast but silent, like a landslide in slow motion. The K-bar came up. One hand clamped over the man's mouth, the other drove the blade between the 4th and 5th ribs. Angled up, twisted. The man jerked once. Went limp. The second man turned, reaching for his rifle. Sarah was already moving. She dropped the AK, closed the distance. Her training wasn't knife work, it was close quarters combat. Aggressive, brutal, designed to end fights in seconds. She drove her palm into his throat, crushed the larynx. He gagged, dropped the tablet, clawed at his neck. Sarah grabbed his head, twisted. The snap was like breaking a branch. He fell. Silence rushed back in. Sarah stood over the body, hands shaking. Her first kill. No, second, she'd shot people in Syria, but that was through a scope. Distant, clinical. This was different. She could smell his cologne. You good? Dutch's hand on her shoulder. Yeah. Her voice came out steady. Good. I'm good. Dutch was already searching the bodies. He pulled the tablet from the second man's vest, powered it on. Encrypted, biometric lock. He held it to the dead man's thumb. The screen unlocked. Sarah looked over his shoulder. Maps, coordinates, communications logs. They've got a whole network, she breathed. 6 observation posts, all feeding back to a command center at... She zoomed in. That's the cache location. Or what we thought was the cache location. Dutch scrolled through files. Look at this. Purchase orders, shipping manifests. This isn't just small arms, Captain. This is javelins, AT-4s, man-portable air defense. Jesus, where did they get... Sarah stopped, saw the transaction codes, U.S. military requisition numbers. They stole it, Dutch said flatly, from our own supply chain, then fed us intel about a cartel cache to see who'd come looking. It's a trap. It's worse than a trap. It's a recruitment drive. Dutch pointed to another file. They're selling this stuff to the highest bidder. Cartels, revolutionaries, terrorists, anyone with cash. Sarah's mind reeled. We need to report this. To who? Someone at Serpiente sold us out, remember? Dutch pocketed the tablet. For now, we're on our own. He stripped the bodies efficiently. Magazines, grenades, a radio, the thermal monocular. He handed Sarah an M4 carbine, actual U.S. military issue. Your toy, he said. Batteries at 60%. Sarah took it. The weight was familiar, comforting. She checked the optic, powered on, reticle bright. It felt like putting on glasses after being half blind. But Dutch's words echoed, until the batteries die. They move faster now, armed with better intel. The tablet's GPS showed all 6 observation posts. Dutch marked them on his paper map because paper didn't run out of batteries. We can bypass the OPs if we stay on this ridgeline, Sarah said, studying the terrain overlay. Assuming their positions haven't shifted. Dutch capped his pen. Never trust data more than 6 hours old in a fluid situation. It's been 2 hours. 2 hours is plenty of time to move a squad. He folded the map. We go slow. We verify. They paralleled the ridge, staying just below the skyline. The jungle thinned here. Less canopy, more rock. Harder to hide but easier to see. Sarah's new M4 made her feel human again. The ACOG scope put crosshairs on the world. Rangefinder, bullet drop compensation. She could engage targets at 400 meters with confidence. But Dutch still carried that beat-up AK, still navigated by compass in sun. Why don't you use modern gear? She asked during a water break. Dutch drank from his canteen. I do, when it makes sense. But gear is a tool, not a crutch. He tapped his head. This is the weapon. Everything else is just accessories. You sound like a fortune cookie. I sound like a guy who's been in 3 wars and survived all of them. He smiled. How many ops you been on, Captain? 17. All successful? Sarah hesitated. 16. What happened to 17? Kandahar, 2023. We lost 2 guys when our GPS led us into a minefield. Insurgents had spoofed the satellite signals. The memory was acid. I was running the nav. It was my call. Dutch was quiet for a moment. That why you trust tech so much? To make sure it doesn't happen again? Something like that. Can't blame you. He stood, shouldering his ruck. But you gotta remember, maps can be wrong too. Compasses break. The only thing you can really trust is your judgment. And judgment comes from experience, not equipment. They moved on. They hit the second observation post at dusk. This one was occupied by 3 men, not 2. Worse terrain, open ground on 3 sides. "We can go around," Sarah whispered. They were belly down behind a fallen log, 70 meters out. "And let them radio in when they spot our tracks?" Dutch shook his head. "We're leaving footprints a blind man could follow. They'll know we came through here." "So we take them, 3 on 2, with clear sight lines." Dutch pulled out a pair of binoculars, old school, no electronics. "They've got a satellite phone. See the antenna?" Sarah squinted, saw it. Thin whip antenna, military spec. "We could use that to call for extract. If we can get to it." Dutch scanned the position. "They're dug in good. Whoever's training these guys knows their business." Sarah studied the terrain through her scope. The OP was positioned in a natural depression. Bulletproof cover from 3 sides. The only approach was a narrow choke point covered by interlocking fields of fire. "This is a professional setup," she said, "not cartel." "No shit," Dutch lowered his binoculars. "I've been thinking, these guys, this operation, it's too clean, too coordinated." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying whoever's running this show has done it before, multiple times, and they're good enough that nobody's caught them." Sarah felt ice in her gut. "You think it's internal? U.S. military?" "I think someone with access is funneling weapons to bad actors and covering their tracks by blaming the cartel." Dutch's jaw was tight, and we stumbled into the middle of it. They watched the OP for an hour. The 3 men rotated watch, disciplined, professional, one always scanning with thermals, one on the radio, one sleeping. "We need a distraction," Sarah said, "or we wait for nightfall." Dutch checked the sky. 40 minutes till full dark. Their thermals give them the advantage now. At night, we're even. "They've got thermals. We don't." Dutch grinned. "We've got something better. We've got their tablets showing exactly where they are." Full dark came like a curtain dropping. The jungle sounds shifted. Day creatures yielding to night hunters. Sarah's eyes adjusted slowly, shapes resolving from solid black to charcoal gray. Dutch moved first, circling wide to the east. Sarah gave him 15 minutes, then started her approach from the west. The tablet was in her cargo pocket, set to vibrate when Dutch was in position. The enemy OP glowed on the screen, 3 heat signatures, clear as day. Technology giving her the advantage for once. Her pocket buzzed. Dutch was set. Sarah clicked her radio twice, their agreed signal. Then she moved. The choke point was a natural kill zone, 20 meters of open ground between cover. Sarah low-crawled the first 10, then committed. She stood, moved fast, rifle up. Shouts from the OP, muzzle flash. She was already diving. Rounds snapped overhead. She rolled behind a boulder, came up shooting. 3-round bursts, walking fire across the position. Suppressive, not aimed. Then Dutch opened up from the flank. His AK hammered out long bursts. Old school spray and pray, but perfectly positioned. The defenders had to choose. Engage Sarah or Dutch. They split their fire. Fatal mistake. Sarah's ACOG put the reticle on a silhouette. Squeezed. The rifle bucked. The silhouette dropped. Dutch moved forward firing, closing the distance. He threw something, a rock, heavy. It clattered into the position. The defenders flinched, ducked. Sarah was up and running. She covered the last 10 meters in seconds. Vaulted into the position, rifle swinging. A man came up with a pistol. Sarah shot him twice. Chest, head, combat rhythm. He dropped. The third man tried to run. Dutch clotheslined him, slammed him into the ground, put a knee on his chest and a knife to his throat. "English?" Dutch barked. The man nodded, eyes wide. "Who do you work for?" "Fuck you!" Dutch pressed the blade. Blood welled. "Try again." "They'll kill me." "I'll kill you right now if you don't talk." Dutch's voice was flat, emotionless. "Start with a name." The man's breath came in gasps. "Carson. Major John Carson. He runs the operation out of—" The man's head snapped back. A round punched through his skull. Then the crack of the shot reached them, distant, suppressed. Sniper! Sarah dove for cover. Dutch was already moving. He grabbed the satellite phone, ripped it free. Another round sparked off stone where he'd been standing. They ran. They didn't stop running for a kilometer. When they finally collapsed behind a cluster of boulders, both were gasping. Sniper, Sarah panted. Had to be 800 meters out, maybe more. Clean up, crew. Dutch checked the sat phone. Screen cracked but functional. They can't risk prisoners talking. Sarah's mind raced. Major John Carson, you know that name? Should I? He was SF, Delta, I think. Went private 3 years ago. Sarah wiped sweat from her eyes. There were rumors, equipment going missing from supply depots. Nothing proven. Well, it's proven now. Dutch powered on the stolen tablet again, scrolled through files. Look at this. Shipping logs going back 18 months. Millions in hardware, all marked as combat loss or destroyed in action. Who's signing off on the reports? Dutch zoomed in on a signature block. Lieutenant Colonel Mark Reeves. Sarah's blood turned to ice. That's our ops officer, the guy who briefed us. The guy who sent us into an ambush. Dutch's expression was carved from stone. He knew we'd be looking at this cache. Probably figured we'd be killed or captured, and any intelligence would die with us. But we survived. Yeah. Dutch looked at the sat phone in his hand. And now we're the only people who know the truth, which makes us the two most dangerous people in Colombia right now. Sarah checked her M4. 3 magazines left, maybe 90 rounds. We need to get this intel out, call for extraction. Who do we call? Reeves controls FOB Serpiente. Anyone we contact goes through him. Then we bypass him. Go straight to who? His chain of command, which probably includes people he's paying off? Dutch shook his head. We use this phone, we might as well send up a flare saying, "We're here, please kill us." Sarah wanted to argue, but he was right. They were cut off, surrounded by hostiles, with intel that implicated senior U.S. military officers in arms trafficking. So what's the play? She asked. Dutch studied the tablet. There's a cache location here, the real one, not the bullshit coordinates they fed us. 20 clicks north. If what I'm reading is right, it's being loaded for shipment tomorrow. You want to hit it? I want to document it, get proof that even Reeves can't bury. Dutch's smile was savage. Then we use this sat phone to call someone who'll actually care. DEA, FBI, hell, CNN if we have to. 2 of us against an arms trafficking ring. You got a better idea? Sarah didn't. She thought about Kandahar, about the 2 men who died because she trusted technology over judgment, about every training scenario that ended with call for backup as the correct answer. But backup wasn't coming. The system was compromised. They were on their own. All right, she said, let's go ruin some careers. They moved through the night, navigating by starlight and the tablet's GPS. Dutch still checked his compass every 15 minutes, old habits. 3 hours in, Sarah's ankle rolled on a hidden route. She went down hard, biting back a curse. Dutch was beside her instantly. Talk to me. Twisted it. She rotated the foot, testing. Pain flared. I can walk. Can you run? Sarah stood, put weight on it. The ankle held, but barely. If I have to, you'll have to. Dutch pulled out his water filter, handed her his canteen. Drink, stay hydrated. While she drank, Dutch examined her ankle with practiced efficiency. His hands were surprisingly gentle. Not broken, probably just a sprain. He pulled paracord from his ruck, wrapped her ankle in a figure-8 pattern. This'll stabilize it, but you're gonna be slow. I'll keep up. I know you will. He smiled. You're tougher than I gave you credit for, Captain. They moved on. Sarah's ankle throbbed with every step, but she gritted through it. Pain was just information. You could ignore information. Dawn was maybe 3 hours away when they heard it. Rotors. Down! Dutch hissed. They pressed into the undergrowth. The sound grew louder, not the heavy thump of military helicopters, but the higher whine of civilian birds. Two of them, running lights visible against the pre-dawn gray. The helicopters circled a position about a click north, then descended, disappearing below the tree line. That's the cache location, Dutch said, checking the tablet. Right on time. They crept forward. The terrain sloped down into a valley, cleared land, probably an old plantation. In the center, a compound. Concrete buildings, razor wire, guard towers. Through her scope, Sarah counted vehicles. 6 trucks, heavy cargo capacity, men loading crates under floodlights. Jesus, she breathed. There's got to be 50 people down there. 63, Dutch said, counting through his binoculars, plus whoever's in the buildings. Sarah's tactical brain ran the numbers. 2 shooters against 60-plus hostiles. No support, no extraction, no backup. This is suicide, she said. Yep, Dutch lowered his binoculars. So we don't fight them. We document, then ghost. He pulled the tablet, started recording video. Zoomed in on the crates being loaded. Sarah could see stenciled markings. U.S. military identification numbers. That's our proof, Dutch said. Now we just need... A branch snapped behind them. They turned as one. A man stood 15 meters away, rifle raised. Not one of the contractors. Young, maybe 19. Local face, wearing jeans and a soccer jersey. A lookout. Probably hired from the nearby village. For 3 seconds, nobody moved. Then the kid's finger tightened on the trigger. Sarah shot first. Single round, center mass. The kid went down. Silence. Then, from the compound, shouts. An alarm siren. The whine of ATVs starting. Run, Dutch said. They ran. The jungle became a weapon. Vines grabbed at Sarah's vest. Thorns tore exposed skin. Her ankles screamed with every impact. Behind them, the snarl of ATV engines. Dogs barking. Men shouting in Spanish and English. They were being hunted. Sarah's lungs burned. Sweat poured into her eyes. She couldn't keep this pace. Not with a bad ankle. Not after 2 days without real food or rest. Dutch grabbed her arm, pulled her into a narrow cleft between 2 massive trees. They pressed into shadow, breathing hard. ATVs roared past, 20 meters away, then 30. The sound faded. They're using thermals, Dutch whispered. Body heat. We can't outrun them. No. Dutch's jaw was tight. But we can make them lose us. He pointed down. A stream cut through the ravine below, maybe 30 feet down a steep slope. Water masks thermals, he said. We get in that stream, we disappear from their sensors. And if they're waiting downstream, then we fight. Dutch checked his AK. But right now, our only chance is to break contact. They descended. Sarah's ankle gave out twice. Dutch caught her both times. The stream was ice cold and fast-moving. They waded in up to their waists. The current tried to sweep them away. Downstream, Dutch said. Let the water carry us, save energy. They moved with the current, rifles held high. The stream bed was treacherous. Hidden rocks, sudden drops. Sarah's teeth chattered. After what felt like hours but was probably 20 minutes, Dutch pulled her onto a sandbar. They collapsed, shivering. They'll sweep the area, he said. But without thermals picking us up, they're guessing. Sarah's whole body shook. Optothermia setting in. Dutch saw it, pulled her close. Shared body heat. It was purely tactical. It was also the warmest she'd felt in days. Tell me about Mogadishu, she said through chattering teeth. Dutch was quiet for a long moment. What about it? You said you were left behind. What happened? Black Hawk Down, October 1993. I was driving a Humvee in the convoy that tried to reach the crash sites. He stared at the water. We got hit hard. IED took out our truck. I got separated from my squad. Somali militia everywhere. How'd you survive? Hid in the ruins for 3 days. No radio, no support, just me and a rifle with 40 rounds. His voice was flat, distant. I thought the army would come back for me. They didn't. Found out later my squad reported me KIA. Didn't even look. Jesus. Private contractor found me on day 4. He didn't have to stop. Could have left me to die. But he didn't. Dutch looked at her. That's why I do this work. Not for the money, for the guys who get left behind. Sarah understood now. The paranoia about technology, the self-reliance, the distrust of official channels. I won't leave you behind, she said. I know, Dutch smiled. It was genuine this time. You came back at that OP. Could have kept running, but you came back. They sat in silence, listening to the jungle wake up. Somewhere above, a helicopter circled, searching, but they were invisible now, ghosts in the water. They moved downstream for another hour before Dutch called a halt. They put maybe 5 clicks between themselves and the compound. Not enough, never enough. But they had the video, the proof. Names, faces, serial numbers. Enough to burn the whole operation. We need to make the call, Sarah said. Get this intel out before they find us. Dutch pulled out the sat phone, looked at it like it was a live grenade. Once we do this, they'll know exactly where we are. They can track sat phones. It'll bring every hostile in the valley down on our position. You have a better idea? Yeah, we keep running. Get to the Venezuelan border. Disappear. And let these guys keep trafficking weapons? Let Reeves keep selling out American operations? Sarah shook her head. We're soldiers, Dutch. We don't run. I'm not a soldier, I'm a contractor. I'm paid to survive, not be a hero. Then why'd you come back for me at the OP? Dutch had no answer for that. Sarah took the sat phone from his hands. Who do we call? Dutch pulled the tablet, scrolled through contacts. I know a guy, DEA attaché in Bogota. Good man, not on anyone's payroll. You trust him? As much as I trust anyone. Dutch read off a number. Sarah dialed. The phone rang. Once. Twice. ¿Quién es? A man's voice, sharp. Agent Morrison? This is Captain Sarah Vance, CIA. Authentication code Tango 7 Niner Whiskey. Sarah rattled off her credentials. I have critical intelligence regarding arms trafficking by U.S. military personnel. Multiple violations of the Arms Export Control Act. Request immediate, secure extraction. Silence on the line. Then, where are you? Sarah read off GPS coordinates from the tablet. Jesus Christ, you're in the red zone. That's cartel territory. It's worse than that. We have video evidence of U.S. military weapons being sold to. Gunfire erupted. Not close, maybe 300 meters out, but getting closer. They found us, Dutch said, already moving. Move! Sarah kept the phone to her ear as they ran. Morrison, we're under fire. Multiple hostiles. Request immediate. I'm calling it in. Get to the river. Follow it north. There's a clearing at grid November 4-7. I'll have a bird there in 90 minutes. We might not have 90 minutes. Then make time, Captain. The line went dead. They ran flat out. Sarah's ankle was molten agony. She ignored it. Pain was just information. The gunfire grew closer, shouting, the snap of rounds through foliage. Dutch led them down a ravine, sliding on loose scree. At the bottom, a river. Not a stream. A real river maybe 40 meters wide, moving fast. In, Dutch said. That current will sweep us away. That's the idea. Dutch was already wading in. They'll expect us to avoid the water. We use it as a highway. Sarah hesitated. Every tactical instinct said this was wrong. But Dutch had survived situations she couldn't imagine. She trusted him. She waded in. The current hit like a fist. Her feet left the bottom. She was swimming, fighting to keep her rifle above water. Dutch grabbed her vest, held her steady. Don't fight it. Let it carry us. They floated downstream, spinning in eddies. Behind them, shouts. Someone had reached the riverbank. Shots, wild, unaimed. Then the river bent, and they were out of sight. They rode the current for maybe 2 clicks. Sarah's muscles screamed. Her clothes were lead weights. But she kept her rifle dry. Priorities. Dutch pointed to a sandbar. They swam for it, clawed their way onto solid ground. Both collapsed, gasping. "How much time?" Sarah asked. Dutch checked his watch. Old mechanical, still working. 70 minutes to extraction. "Where's the LZ?" "3 clicks that way." He pointed north. "Through that." Sarah looked. Dense jungle, steep terrain, bad footing. With a sprained ankle, it might as well have been 100 clicks. "I'll slow you down," she said. "Then we go slow." "Dutch, we've been through this, Captain." His voice was firm. "I don't leave people behind. Ever. That clear?" Sarah nodded, swallowed the lump in her throat. They moved into the jungle. 40 minutes later, Sarah couldn't go further. Her ankle had swollen to twice its normal size. Each step was white-hot agony. "Leave me," she said. "Get to the LZ. Send help back." "No." "Dutch, be realistic. I'm combat ineffective. I'll get us both killed." "Then we make a stand." Dutch scanned the terrain, found what he was looking for, a rocky outcrop with good sightlines and limited approaches. "Here, this is where we stop them." He pulled her to the position, started arranging rocks for cover. Sarah checked her rifle. 2 magazines left. 60 rounds. "This is suicide." "Probably." Dutch set up his AK, checked the sight picture. "But I've been in worse spots." "When?" "Mogadishu, day 3. 40 rounds, 300 hostiles." His smile was grim. "At least here I've got company." Sarah wanted to argue, but her ankle wouldn't carry her another step. This was it. She checked the time. 30 minutes to extraction. If they could hold for 30 minutes, they'd live. If. Behind them in the jungle, the sound of men spreading out, flanking, professional tactics. "Here they come," Dutch said quietly. Sarah chambered around. They waited. The first man appeared at 200 meters, moving cautiously, rifle up, scanning. "I've got him," Sarah whispered. "Wait." Let them bunch up. 3 more men appeared, then 5. They were moving in a loose line, sweeping forward. "Now," Dutch said. Sarah fired. Her round took the lead man in the chest. He went down. Dutch opened up, long burst, walking fire across the line. 2 more dropped. The enemy scattered, returning fire. Rounds snapped overhead, sparked off stone. "Contact! Contact!" Someone screaming in English. "Grid November 4-7, 2 shooters, entrenched." They'd radioed the position. More would come. Sarah picked her targets carefully. Controlled breathing, smooth trigger press. Each round counted. Dutch burned through a magazine, reloaded with mechanical precision. "How many mags you got?" "1. Make it count." A grenade arced toward them. Dutch saw it, grabbed Sarah, pulled her flat. The grenade exploded, 20 meters short. Shrapnel whined overhead. "They're probing," Dutch said, "testing our range." The enemy fire intensified. Disciplined, coordinated. Someone was directing them. Sarah's rifle clicked empty. Last magazine. 30 rounds. She made everyone matter. Dutch grunted, dropped behind cover. "I'm hit." Sarah's heart stopped. "Where?" "Leg. Thigh." He pressed a hand to it. Blood welled between his fingers. "Arterial. This is bad." Sarah crawled to him. The wound was high on his thigh, pumping blood. She ripped his belt off, improvised a tourniquet above the injury. "That's too tight," Dutch gasped. "It's supposed to be." She twisted the belt, cutting off blood flow. The hemorrhaging slowed. "You're staying with me, old man." "Bossy." Dutch's smile was weak. "I like it." More gunfire, closer now. They were advancing. Sarah grabbed Dutch's AK. 2 weapons. 90 rounds total. The enemy charged. Sarah fired in controlled bursts. Dropped 2. 3. The AK bucked in her hands. Heavier recoil than the M4. Less accurate. But it worked. A man broke through on the left. Sarah swung, fired, missed. He raised his rifle. Dutch shot him one-handed with his pistol. The man fell. "Thanks," Sarah breathed. "Don't mention it." Her M4 clicked empty. She transitioned to the AK. 20 rounds left. 15. 10. The helicopter sound grew in the distance. Rotors. Heavy bird. Maybe military. "You hear that?" Dutch asked. "Extraction. Better late than never." 5 rounds left. 3. The enemy pulled back, regrouping. They'd heard the helicopter too. 1 round. Sarah squeezed the trigger. Nothing. Empty. She drew her Glock. 15 rounds. Point-blank range only. The helicopter roared overhead. A Black Hawk. Doors open. A minigun spun up. The forest erupted with fire. The minigun chewed through the tree line. 6,000 rounds per minute. The enemy broke and ran. A rope dropped. A PJ, pararescue jumper, fast rope down. Combat medic, armed and armored. "You Vance?" he shouted over the rotor wash. "That's me." "Time to go." He loaded Dutch onto a stretcher, clipped it to the winch. Sarah grabbed the rope. They were hauled up together. As they cleared the trees, Sarah looked back, saw the enemy regrouping, saw the jungle that had tried to kill them. They were alive. Somehow, impossibly, they were alive. The Black Hawk banked hard, climbing fast. Sarah gripped the nylon webbing, her knuckles white. Below, muzzle flashes sparked in the jungle like angry fireflies. Tracers arced upward, futile, desperate. The PJ worked on Dutch with efficient brutality, cut away his pant leg, packed the wound with quick clot, started an IV line. "How bad?" Sarah shouted over the rotor noise. "He'll live if we get him to a hospital in the next hour." The PJ didn't look up. "You hit?" "Sprained ankle. I'm fine." "You look like hammered shit, ma'am." Sarah almost laughed. She probably did. 3 days in the jungle, no sleep, no food beyond the emergency rations in Dutch's ruck, covered in mud, blood, and God knew what else. But they had the intel. The tablet was sealed in a waterproof pouch on her vest. Evidence that would burn careers and end operations, if they could get it to the right people. The crew chief tapped her shoulder, pointed to a headset. She put it on. "Captain Vance?" A voice crackled through. Professional, female. "This is Colonel Patricia Hayes, J2 Southcom. Agent Morrison briefed me on your situation. We're diverting to Tolomeda Air Base. You'll be met by a security team." "Negative," Sarah said. "We need to go directly to the embassy in Bogota. The intel we have implicates—" "I'm aware of the implications, Captain, which is why you're going to a secure facility, not a civilian location." Hayes's voice was steel. "This is not a request." The line went dead. Sarah looked at the PJ. "Where are we actually going?" "Tolomeda, like the colonel said. That's a Colombian military base. It's also got a U.S. liaison office, secure comms, medical facilities." He tied off the IV. "Best place for you right now." Sarah's instincts screamed. Tolomeda was joint U.S.-Colombian operations, which meant people who might be compromised, people who might work for Reeves. She looked at Dutch. He was conscious, barely. His face was gray, lips pressed in a thin line against pain. "Dutch," she said quietly, "we've got a problem." His eyes focused on her. "Talk." "They're taking us to Tolomeda, military base, joint ops." Understanding flickered in his eyes. "Reeves." "Yeah. Can you walk?" Sarah tested her ankle. It throbbed but held weight. "If I have to." "Then we don't get off the bird." Dutch's voice was weak but clear. "We stay airborne, force them to take us somewhere else." "How?" Dutch's hand moved to his belt. Came away with something small, a grenade. Fragmentation. He'd been carrying it the whole time. The PJ saw it. His hand went to his sidearm. Easy, Dutch said. He held the grenade where everyone could see it. Thumb on the pin. I don't want to hurt anyone. But we're not landing at Tolemeda. The pilot's voice crackled through the headset. We've got a situation back there? Sarah keyed her mic. Change of destination. Take us to the U.S. Embassy in Bogota. Negative. We have orders. Your orders are compromised. Sarah pulled the tablet from her pouch, held it up. I have evidence of arms trafficking by U.S. military personnel, senior officers. If we land at Tolemeda, this evidence disappears. And so do we. Silence on the line. Then, stand by. The helicopter maintained altitude, circling. Sarah could feel the crew making calculations. 2 wounded operators, one with a grenade, a tablet full of explosive intelligence, orders from a colonel who might be compromised. Finally, we're diverting to the embassy, ETA 20 minutes. Dutch let out a breath, lowered the grenade. The PJ took it from his hand, checked the pin. Still secure. Dutch had been bluffing. The pin was still in. You crazy old bastard, Sarah said. Learn from the best. Dutch's smile was weak. Mogadishu, remember? Trust no one. The embassy landing pad was organized chaos. Security personnel in suits, military police, someone from the State Department, and Agent Morrison, tall, graying, wearing khakis and a polo like he was on vacation. He met them as they touched down, looked at Dutch on the stretcher, at Sarah limping off the bird. Jesus Christ, he said, you two look like you fought a war. We did, Sarah said. Where's the ambassador? Waiting, medical first, then debrief. No, debrief now. Sarah pulled the tablet. This can't wait. Morrison studied her, saw something in her eyes that made him nod. Conference room 3, it's a SCIF, secure facility, bring your friend. They wheeled Dutch inside. Sarah followed, favoring her good ankle. The embassy was cool, air-conditioned, clean. It felt alien after 3 days in the jungle. The skiff was small, soundproof walls, no windows, a steel door that locked from the inside. A long table, chairs, a large monitor on the wall. Waiting inside, Ambassador Patricia Greer, Morrison, and 2 people Sarah didn't recognize. One in a suit, one in marine dress blues. Captain Vance, Greer said, I'm told you have information regarding arms trafficking. Yes, ma'am. Sarah connected the tablet to the monitor. This was taken from hostile forces in the Rio Verde Valley. It contains shipping manifests, transaction records, and video documentation of U.S. military weapons being sold to criminal organizations. She pulled up the files. The room went silent as they watched. Crates marked with U.S. military ID numbers being loaded onto trucks. Men in American uniforms directing the operation. The compound, the vehicles, the organization. Who's running this? Greer asked. Sarah pulled up the personnel files. Major John Carson, former Delta, now private contractor. And this is the command authorization. She zoomed in on a signature. Lieutenant Colonel Mark Reeves. The Marine officer leaned forward. That's the ops officer at FOB Serpiente. Yes, sir. He's the one who sent us on the mission. Sarah's voice was steady. The mission was a setup. We were supposed to die in the jungle, or be captured and killed trying to reach this cache. Either way, the operation stays buried. Morrison spoke up. How much hardware are we talking about? Sarah pulled up the inventory list. Javelins, AT-4s, Stinger missiles, small arms, ammunition, explosives. Total value approximately $40 million, over an 18-month period. Greer's face was stone. Where's it going? Highest bidder, cartels, revolutionary groups, whoever has cash. Sarah switched to the transaction logs. They've made sales to organizations in Venezuela, Ecuador, Peru, even to groups designated as foreign terrorist organizations. The room erupted. Questions fired from all sides. Sarah answered what she could. Dutch lay on his stretcher, eyes closed but listening. Finally, Greer raised a hand. Silence fell. "This is beyond my authority," she said. "This goes to DOD, DOJ, state. But right now my priority is your safety. Carson and Reeves know you have this intelligence. They'll be mobilizing to contain the situation." "Meaning kill us," Dutch said. His voice was rough but clear. "Yes." Greer didn't sugarcoat it. "Morrison, what's the DEA's posture?" "We can provide security, move them to a safe house. But if Reeves has operators in country, and he does, we're looking at a hostile action on Colombian soil." The Marine officer spoke. "We have a Marine security guard detachment here, 23 Marines. We can defend the embassy." "Against what? A private army?" Sarah shook her head. "Carson has 60-plus contractors, hardened combat veterans, equipped with stolen U.S. military hardware. So what's your recommendation, Captain?" Greer asked. Sarah looked at Dutch. He met her eyes, nodded once. "We go public," Sarah said. "Right now, we send this to every news agency, every congressional oversight committee, every inspector general in the chain. We flood the zone with information. Once it's out there, killing us becomes pointless." "That will cause a diplomatic incident," Greer warned. "A PR nightmare." "Better than a cover-up." Sarah's jaw was set. "People died for this intel. American soldiers, local assets, they deserve justice." Greer was quiet for a long moment. Then she turned to her aide. "Get me a secure line to Southcom and wake up the Secretary of Defense. He's going to want to hear this." 2 hours later, all hell broke loose. Sarah was in the embassy medical clinic getting her ankle properly wrapped when the first explosion hit. The building shook. Alarms shrieked. She was off the exam table instantly, grabbed her rifle. Someone had given her a fresh M4, loaded and ready. Morrison burst through the door. "They're hitting us. Carson's forces. At least 20 vehicles, maybe 40 shooters." "Jesus, they're attacking a U.S. embassy?" "They're desperate." Morrison had a Glock in his hand. "Ambassadors in the skiff. Marines are deploying to defensive positions. You need to get there." They moved through corridors at a run. Embassy staff fled past them. Civilians, admin personnel, terrified and confused. Another explosion. Closer. The lights flickered. "They're using RPGs," Morrison said, "hitting the perimeter wall." They reached the SCIF. Dutch was sitting up on his stretcher, pistol in hand. A Marine Lance Corporal was helping him into body armor. "About time," Dutch said. "I was getting bored." "Can you stand?" "I can fight." He leveraged himself up. His leg buckled. The Marine caught him. "You're combat ineffective," Sarah said. "So are you with that ankle." Dutch checked his pistol. "Guess we're even." The skiff's monitor showed security camera feeds. The perimeter wall was breached in 2 places. Trucks were pouring through. Men in tactical gear, moving with military precision. "They're not playing around," Morrison said. "This is a full assault." Ambassador Greer stood at the head of the table, phone to her ear. She was talking to someone, probably Southcom or DC. Her face was calm, professional, but Sarah saw the tightness around her eyes. They were under siege. In the middle of Bogota, a U.S. embassy under attack by American contractors. It was a nightmare. "Marines are holding the inner perimeter," the Marine officer, Captain Morris, reported. He was watching multiple feeds, directing his limited forces. "But we can't hold indefinitely. They've got numbers and firepower." "How long until reinforcement?" Greer asked. "Colombian military is mobilizing. ETA 30 minutes. JSOC has a team in Panama. They're spinning up, but we're looking at 2 to 3 hours. "We don't have 3 hours," Dutch said. Another explosion. The building shuddered. Dust rained from the ceiling. Sarah studied the feeds. Carson's forces were attacking from three sides. Classic assault pattern. Suppress, advance, breach. But they were making a mistake. They're bunching up at the entry points, she said, concentrating force to punch through. So? Morrison asked. So they're vulnerable. Sarah pointed to a camera angle. See that? They're using the vehicles as mobile cover. If we can disable the vehicles, we trap them in the kill zone, Dutch finished. His eyes were bright despite the pain. You still got grenades? Morris checked his POV. We've got M67s, 6 of them. Not enough, Sarah's mind raced. But we have something better. We have a tablet full of evidence that Carson can't afford to have go public. Morrison frowned. I don't follow. He's not here to kill us, Sarah said. He's here to get this tablet, to destroy the evidence, which means he has to come inside. You want to lure him in? Greer asked. I want to end this. Sarah looked at Dutch. We make him think we're cornered, desperate. We broadcast on open channels that we're in the skiff with the evidence. He'll come for it personally. That's suicide, Morris said. This room is defensible but not a fortress. If he gets in, we're ready. Dutch checked his magazine. It's called an ambush, Captain. We've been on the receiving end for 3 days. Time to return the favor. Greer looked at Sarah. This is your operation now, Captain. What do you need? Every weapon in this embassy, every Marine who can shoot, and someone to broadcast that message. Sarah's voice was iron. We're done running. They set the trap with military efficiency. The skiff had one entrance, a steel door magnetically sealed. The walls were reinforced concrete, designed to withstand surveillance and forced entry. But the ceiling was regular construction, and the ventilation system connected to the main building. He'll breach through the ceiling, Dutch said. It's what I do. Sarah agreed. So we set up a crossfire. Marines in the corridor, covering the door. We're inside, covering the ceiling breach point. Morris positioned his Marines, 8 in total, the best shooters he had. The rest maintained the outer perimeter. Sarah and Dutch took positions inside the SCIF. Dutch behind the conference table, good cover in clear line of sight. Sarah near the monitor station, elevated position. Morrison came in, carrying a civilian shotgun. I'm not military, but I've been in the shit before. Welcome to the party, Dutch said. Ambassador Greer refused to leave. This is my embassy. I'm not abandoning it. They couldn't argue with that. Morrison keyed the radio. All stations, this is Morrison, broadcasting in clear. The evidence regarding arms trafficking is secured in the embassy SCIF. Command and authorization codes are stored on a single tablet in the possession of Captain Sarah Vance. That is all. He clicked off, looked at Sarah. You sure about this? No, she chambered around. But I'm out of good options. They waited. On the monitors, Carson's forces regrouped. The assault had stalled. The Marines were putting up fierce resistance. But it was only a matter of time. Then on the radio, a voice Sarah recognized. Captain Vance, this is Major Carson. I believe we can resolve this situation diplomatically. Sarah picked up a radio handset. By diplomatically, you mean you kill us and take the evidence? I mean we all walk away alive. Carson's voice was smooth, reasonable. You've put up a hell of a fight, but you're cornered, outgunned. Your reinforcements won't arrive in time. So I'm offering you a deal. You give me the tablet, you and Dutch get on a helicopter, you fly out of here, you live. And the evidence disappears. Evidence of what? A few irregularities in supply chain management? Carson chuckled. No one cares, Captain. The war machine grinds on. A few weapons go missing. It's the cost of doing business. Sarah's finger tightened on her rifle. Americans died because of your business, our own people. Acceptable losses. Carson's tone hardened. You have 60 seconds to decide. Then I come in, and I don't make offers twice. Sarah killed the radio, looked at Dutch. "He's coming," Dutch said. "Yeah." They waited. 50 seconds. 40. 30. The lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in. Dim red glow. Just enough to see shapes. "Here we go," Morrison whispered. The ceiling exploded inward. Not an actual explosion. Shaped charges, precisely placed. A 4x4 section of ceiling tiles and rebar dropped into the room. Smoke grenades followed, billowing white phosphorus. Sarah's eyes burned. She fired blind, 3-round bursts into the smoke. Heard a scream. Figures dropped through the breach. Fast rope, military precision. Sarah counted 3, 4, 5. The Marines in the corridor opened up. Sustained fire, overwhelming volume. But Carson's men were good. They moved through the smoke like ghosts. Suppressed weapons, night vision, coordinated. Sarah's rifle clicked empty. She transitioned to her Glock, fired at a muzzle flash. The figure dropped. Something hit her from the side. A tackle full force. She went down hard, rifle skittering away. Hands grabbed her throat. She drove her thumbs into her attacker's eyes. He screamed, released. She rolled, came up with her knife, drove it into his neck. Hot blood sprayed. The man collapsed. Dutch was firing from behind the table. Methodical, controlled, every shot a kill. But there were too many. A grenade bounced into the room. Flashbang. "Down!" Dutch shouted. Sarah covered her ears, squeezed her eyes shut. The grenade detonated. Even through closed eyes, the flash was blinding. The concussion was a hammer to the skull. Her ears rang. Vision swam. Someone grabbed her hair, yanked her head back. Cold steel pressed against her throat. "Drop it," a voice said. Carson. "Or I open her throat." Dutch froze. His rifle was aimed at Carson, but Sarah was between them. No shot. "I said drop it." Dutch lowered his rifle, set it on the table. Carson smiled. He was everything his file suggested. Mid-40s, fit, with the cold confidence of a man who'd done this 100 times. He wore full tactical gear, night vision flipped up, a suppressed rifle slung across his chest. "The tablet," Carson said. "Where is it?" "Safe," Sarah gasped. The knife was cutting off her air. "Tell me or you die." "Kill me and you'll never find it." Sarah's vision was graying. "I uploaded it. Cloud storage. Kill switches. If I don't check in every 12 hours, it goes to every news agency in the Western Hemisphere." Carson's grip loosened slightly. "You're bluffing." "Try me." Carson studied her, calculating odds. Then he lowered the knife. Smart girl, but not smart enough. He shoved her forward. She collapsed. "You're coming with me. We'll sort this out somewhere quiet." Dutch stood. His leg was bleeding again, fresh blood soaking through the bandage. "She stays," he said. "Old man, you're in no condition." Dutch picked up his rifle, not pointing it, just holding it. "She stays," he repeated. Carson laughed. "You've got maybe 10 rounds left. I've got 20 operators outside this room. You can't win." "Don't have to win." Dutch's voice was calm. "Just have to hold long enough for the Colombians to arrive. They're what, 15 minutes out now?" Carson's jaw tightened. He keyed his radio. "All units, extract. We're done here." "Smart call," Dutch said. "This isn't over." Carson backed toward the breach. "I've got resources, lawyers, friends in high places. You think this evidence matters? It'll disappear, and so will you." "Maybe," Sarah said. She was on her feet now, having recovered her rifle. "But everyone will know the truth first." Carson climbed the rope. His men followed. Within 30 seconds, they were gone. Sarah sagged against the wall. Dutch lowered himself into a chair. Morrison emerged from cover, bleeding from a scalp wound, but alive. "Is it over?" Ambassador Greer asked. "Not yet," Sarah said. The Colombian military arrived 12 minutes later. A full brigade, infantry, armor, air support. They secured the embassy, arrested two of Carson's wounded operators. Sarah stood on the embassy balcony, watching the sun rise over Bogota. Her ankle throbbed. Her body was a catalog of pain, but she was alive. Dutch joined her, leaning on a crutch. His leg was properly bandaged now, sutured and dressed by a real doctor. "You should be in bed," Sarah said. "So should you." He lit a cigarette, bummed from one of the Marines, took a drag. "Hell of a 3 days." "Yeah. You did good, Captain. Real good." Sarah looked at him. At this grizzled, scarred man who'd kept her alive through impossible odds. "I couldn't have done it without you," she said. "Sure you could," Dutch smiled. "You just needed someone to show you how." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the city wake up. Morrison approached. "Captain, there's a call for you. Secure line." Sarah followed him inside. The skiff was a wreck. Ceiling collapsed, bullet holes everywhere. But the monitor still worked. On screen, a 2-star general. Sarah didn't recognize him. "Captain Vance, General Marcus Stone, J2 Southcom. I've been briefed on your situation." "Yes, sir." "Lieutenant Colonel Reeves is in custody. Major Carson is being hunted by every law enforcement agency in South America. We're still rolling up the network, but the operation is dead." "What about the weapons?" "Recovery teams are en route to the Rio Verde facility. We'll secure what we can." Stone's expression was grim. "This is going to be a shitstorm, Captain. Congressional hearings, Inspector General investigations. Heads will roll." "Good, sir. You'll be required to testify, extensively." "I understand." Stone was quiet for a moment. "For what it's worth, you did the right thing. Both of you. A lot of operators would have looked the other way, or gone dark. You didn't." "No, sir, we didn't." The call ended. Sarah walked back to the balcony. Dutch was still there, smoking. "What now?" she asked. "Now? Medical leave, debriefing, paperwork." Dutch stubbed out the cigarette. "Then probably back to it. You?" "I don't know." Sarah looked at her hands. They were steady now. "I used to think technology was the answer to everything. Better gear, better intel, better everything. And now? Now I think technology is just a tool. Like any other tool, it only works if the person using it knows what they're doing." She smiled. "And maybe has a crazy old bastard to keep them honest." "I'm not that old." "You're 62. "Fine, I'm old." Dutch grinned. "But I'm not dead yet." They watched the sunrise together. Langley, Virginia, CIA headquarters. Sarah sat in a conference room, waiting. Her ankle was healed, mostly. Physical therapy twice a week. She walked with a slight limp that the doctors said might be permanent. She didn't mind. It reminded her of what she'd survived. The door opened. A woman entered, late 50s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. Deputy Director Carla Martinez. "Captain Vance, thank you for coming." "Ma'am." "I've read your after-action report, all 600 pages of it." Martinez sat across from her. "I've also read the classified addendums, the stuff you didn't put in the official record." Sarah said nothing. "You made some unorthodox decisions," Martinez continued. "Hijacking a military helicopter, threatening U.S. personnel, going around your chain of command." "Yes, ma'am. If you're looking for an apology." "I'm not." Martinez slid a folder across the table. "I'm offering you a promotion and a new assignment." Sarah opened the folder. Special Activities Center. Direct Action. Paramilitary Operations. "You want me for SAD?" "I want someone who can operate independently, who makes good decisions under pressure, who doesn't rely on technology as a crutch." Martinez's smile was thin. "You learned that lesson the hard way in Colombia. Most people never learn it at all." Sarah studied the folder, thought about the jungle, about Dutch, about what it meant to trust yourself when all the systems failed. "What about Dutch?" she asked. "Mr. Vandergriff is being offered a consultant position, if he wants it." Martinez stood. "This is a good opportunity, Captain. Don't waste it." She left. Sarah sat alone in the conference room, looked at the folder. Special Activity Center, the tip of the spear. She thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. Then she signed the acceptance form. 6 months later, Afghanistan, Forward Operating Base, Phoenix. Sarah Vance, now Major Vance, stepped off a Chinook into dust and heat. The FOB was small, a reinforced compound in the middle of nowhere, home to a platoon-sized element doing God knows what. The operations officer met her at the LZ, young, fresh-faced, holding a tablet. "Major Vance, welcome to Phoenix. I've got your briefing materials on—" "Before we do that," Sarah interrupted, "I need to ask you something. Ma'am, if your tablet died right now, if all the electronics failed, could you still operate?" The lieutenant blinked. I suppose so, ma'am. We have paper maps and—" "Good, because out here technology will fail. Batteries die, circuits fry, satellites get jammed." Sarah started walking toward the operations center. "The mission continues anyway. You adapt, you overcome, you survive." "Yes, ma'am," Sarah smiled. She sounded like Dutch. In her pocket, her phone buzzed. A text message. "Heard you got promoted. Try not to let it go to your head. Dutch." She typed back, "Try not to get shot again, old man." His response came immediately. "No promises. Stay safe out there, Captain. World needs more people like you." Sarah pocketed the phone, looked at the mountains rising in the distance. Somewhere out there the enemy was watching, planning, waiting. But so was she. She'd learned from the best. She stepped into the operations center, ready for whatever came next. The tech was good, but she was better.